Welcome to this presentation on ACT SkillSuite. SkillSuite is a new collection of products, right now comprised of Skill Author and Skill Mapper, that will be launched in May of 2020. Skill Author's primary purpose is to create what we call machine-readable competency frameworks, also called standards, and we can create, manage, and publish those standards to the internet. Skill Mapper takes those standards and then can help create crosswalks, and we'll talk about both why this is important and what current solutions exist in the market. So we want to help you understand why ACT cares about CASE and what we call the CASE network. We can also going to talk about how accurate alignment of competencies are something that is actually really intricately involved in all aspects of digital learning today. So currently, we have state standards that are published on state websites in PDFs. Other commercial companies have taken those standards and put them in digital representations, and then they resell those to other edtech solution providers so that edtech companies don't have to manually type in standards all the time. But what we've been working on with the CASE network and others for the past couple of years is to take those state standards from PDFs and put them out on the web for free so that we can all use these openly available machine-readable standards. This gives us a consistent way to refer to those learning resources, so we're not just talking about, case.cc.a.1, which might be slightly different in certain states, right? Because some states have changed the content of the standards a little bit, as is their right. And so we might have a little bit different way of talking about different standards across different states. But by using these machine-readable representations, we can always be sure that we're referring to the standard that we know that we want to. So SkillSuite will be a service, and it's going to rely in many ways on the content provided by the CASE network. So on the left side here, you kind of see this directory. Basically, the CASE network takes any CASE framework from other servers. You can even see ACT has some frameworks on there from our own site, and it just shows them in one directory. But it can also, as you can see on the right, this is a representation of Alaska's math standards from their PDF and represented in the CASE format. So again, CASE is just a format. Think of it like a Word doc or like an MP3. It's just a way that we can make sure that we're sharing information about these competency frameworks in a way that can be interoperable with other learning tools. So essentially, you may not know it, but you're going to be using CASE standards in many parts of the digital ecosystem here. So anytime that you are working inside an LMS or a learning management system, such as Canvas or even Google Classroom, you're going to want to be referring to these standards, and CASE is the going forward the preferred method that we do that. Also, as we talk about online testing and whatnot, what information are we gleaning from the student? When that's all tied to the standard, which is in the CASE specification, that's something we can do better. And my purpose, of course, right now, working for the learning resources aspect of ACT, is we want to make sure that when we're delivering learning resources, that we're all talking about the same standards, and we're talking about something that can be reliably tied back to the standard, tied back to where it was used in the course, etc. And that's what CASE helps us do. And some states and others have been talking about open badges and also this idea of an interoperable learning record, or CLR, comprehensive learner record. It's the idea that we can get digital transcripts in such a way that can capture information about a learner's entire journey, not just K-12 and not just college in this kind of fragmented way, but making sure that we can capture the entire learning continuum. And again, if we have consistent standards represented in this CASE format, then we can do that in a much more efficient way. So we recently announced with IMS Global, which is an interoperability organization. Think of them as the UN of EdTech, if you will, where they take all these different parties that might be competing, but they will come together and say, hey, let's find ways to exchange data better so it's actually more efficient. And we can be sure that when we're working with each other for clients, for school districts, right, that we can share data in a way that is more efficient and better for everyone involved. So IMS members in May will be able to have a limited version of SkillSuite to use, because IMS wants more people publishing in this CASE format, and so do we. So we're basically saying, hey, you can use our software for free for a limited purpose, although of course we do have enterprise options available for heavy users. So we have things like publishing the CASE network that's included with their IMS membership, but if you want to make like a free or a private framework, that's something that enterprise. We also have more of like a workflow capabilities that'll be enterprise as well. So what are crosswalks? So we just talked about skill authors use case about creating frameworks or representing frameworks. And skill mapper says we're making crosswalks. And most states may not really think they care about crosswalks because they're saying, hey, we create our standards, everybody else aligns to that. But if you're a district or even a state as well, and you want to link your standards to other national frameworks or to other states or to other locales, right? A lot of times districts, large districts in particular, will kind of create a derivative set of standards, and they want to make sure that they can still say that they're accountable. And these tools can represent this in a machine readable way such that when the national or the state framework changes, we want to make sure that we're updating our own documents, right? Our own derivative frameworks, and this can help us do that automatically. We've also seen use cases where different areas are making SEL frameworks and they want to align that to the Holistic framework, or they want to align it to Castle, etc. And these tools can help us do that in a much more efficient way. We also want to know that we want to see localized standards on our resources. We may be getting the learning resources from other states, but we want to show them with our standards. And so crosswalks help us do that by saying this standard relates to this standard, and that's what we do. So here's a brief tour. SkillSuite kind of have this open page. This is kind of a view of what skill author will be, where it's kind of a list of standards, and we want to make sure that we're organizing them in a way that makes sense. Kind of a view into the tree, and so we can see how many parent statements we have, or some in common core local clusters, that kind of thing, as we go down the list. And then we can also see a very detailed description of those comments or of those standards when we click on the standard itself. Skill mapper, again, is making crosswalks. So we want to know how many standards in our crosswalk have a relationship to something else. We also want to know how many don't, right? So if I'm trying to show my district derivative to my state, and maybe in the district we made an additional set of standards, so we don't have a crosswalk. They don't have, a twin, if you will, in the state framework, and that's okay. But we do want to know that, and Skill Mapper will help us do that and keep track of who's working on what. And so here's the suggest page. The way Skill Mapper works, it's not some sort of, automatically created crosswalk, but we actually prefer that humans or subject matter experts are the ones taking the initiative. Skill Mapper will give them suggestions and give all the relevant information about those suggestions, and then it's up to the subject matter expert to actually select map and say, yes, this is a match or not, or hit reject, right? That's that process. So we're very excited about SkillSuite launching. We feel like this is an excellent tool in your repertoire as well as ours. It's something that we're offering and already have pilot customers in terms of charter school networks and states that are looking at it, and other edtech vendors. So we're looking forward, always willing to give a demo, give a trial. Feel free to reach out here, ac.org/skillsuite. It's probably the best place. There'll be updated information as we mature, and you'll be able to find any kind of information as well as the webcast such as this going forward there. Well, feel free to email me, brand.dorman@ac.org. I'm the lead product manager at ACT for this suite of products. I'm also the case specification co-chair, so deeply involved in what case needs to do and why it needs to do it. Thank you for your time.